Hey guys, Rick from DFS On Demand here, and I want to show you the newest Major League Baseball tools that I've been working on. And this is something I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys are too. If you're a subscriber and you noticed that I haven't been updating the MLB Game Logs and player scoring calendar as quickly the last couple of days, this is probably why. I've been spending my time working on this as something that is hopefully a replacement for both of those tools and also some additional cool things that we can look at. So this is really what the new game logs are going to look like. And what I realized is from feedback from you guys and just from thoughts myself is that I had so much raw data that it was hard to consume and it was hard to sort through. So what I've attempted to do is make that a lot easier and a lot cooler. So here we go. So here's what your new MLB game logs look like. And it's a very interactive tool, and there are multiple pages like you can see down here at the bottom. So for now, just as they were, the hitters and the pitchers game logs are still separate. So let's go through the hitters first, and I'll show you a couple of examples here. You are now able to sort through or filter any dates that you would like here. So as you can see, today is July 15th, so these are updated through yesterday's games, and they'll continue to be updated each morning. And we have your standard information here about every player and their game performance as well as their fantasy performance. You can switch between DraftKings and FanDuel, or if you press Control or hold Control and click on the other, you'll actually get both. So here's AJ Pollock's both games, one on DraftKings and one on FanDuel, so you can look at them at the same time or one at a time. You can use this slider to go through the dates. So if we just want to look at maybe the last month, I can go from June 14th to July 14th, and I can sort those games accordingly. Okay. I can also drop this down here. There's a calendar feature, so maybe I just want to navigate to July 1st and have it be the last 14 days. So really, right now, I have I have no other filters on here. So this is every game in the last 14 days, and we can see here are the best DraftKings games over that course of time. Of course, we also have home and away, so maybe we only want to see home games during this period. And you'll see here's Chris Bryant has the best home game in the last 2 weeks. Or maybe we want to, spread this back out, spread the date range back out, and we only want to look at third baseman. Well, here's just your third baseman. And we can continue, as you can see, to get more and more advanced here. Maybe we only want to see Houston Astros, and it doesn't matter what position that they play. And maybe we want to make this time frame even shorter. Okay. So you can continue to do this. And you can get as creative as you'd like here. So maybe we want to just look for one specific player, and you can clear these out at the top. And maybe we just want to see Bryce Harper. Okay. So here's all of Bryce Harper's game logs. And we can sort them by most recent. So here we go. Bryce Harper, July 9th, 8th, 7th, etc. Maybe we want to just look at different ballparks. So this is pretty interesting, where it doesn't matter who the player is or what team they play for. Here's any game that was played at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. We can clear that out, and we can go in different salary ranges. So maybe we only want to see, let's try 3,000 to 3,500. I'm just going to type that in. And you can see here are all the best games this season by players in the $3,000 to $3,500 rank. And then, of course, we can sort by just fantasy performances if you'd like to do that as well. That's a pretty big range. Maybe we should narrow it a little bit. There we go. So as you can see, this is pretty customizable, and you can look through these very, very quickly, with all these different segments, which is much easier than the old version of essentially the raw data game logs. So let's switch over to the pitchers, and it's basically the same thing, but I'll just show you how that works. Of course, we have all the same information home and away, but I'll show you a quick example. Here's Clayton Kershaw, and here's his recent logs so we can sort by obviously the most recent date, and we can see what he's done. And of course, it's been pretty impressive. Maybe we want to see Clayton Kershaw against, let's say, Arizona. And here are his 2 games against Arizona. Let's assume he's pitching against them tonight. So this is a really neat way to go through here and see, especially for pitchers against specific opponents or specific time ranges, how easy that is. Okay, the next couple tabs are what I'm calling like pitcher or hitter profiles, which would almost be replacing player scoring calendar, and you'll see why. And I love this. Okay, so first of all, let me just back out of all this. What I recommend to you is to really only look at 1 or maybe 2 players here. I think this is really built to look at 1 player and then switch to another player. When you have no filters on, this is showing you every player in the league during this time frame. That's not really what this was built for. So I'm just going to type in Bryce Harper, and we're going to click on Bryce. And here we can see, okay, now this is getting more interesting. So here's Bryce's full season. And, you know, the player scoring calendar was built to kind of see how players are doing recently. So that's what I can do here. Okay, so here's the last 14 days. And obviously we have the All-Star break in here, so there was a big gap. But you can hover over these, and you can see what Harper's doing. So not only do we have his fantasy points, which we're looking at DraftKings right now is 34 fantasy points, but his salary was $5,600 that night, and his opponent was Cincinnati. And we can see how his salary and how his fantasy production is fluctuating. And if we make this range bigger, it'll look even better here. So you can see how that salary fluctuates over time, and how his fantasy production also fluctuates over time. Aaron Judge might be a better example of salary. So you can see how his has really fluctuated over the last month. And even if we go for the whole season, obviously a massive trend in his salary production. If you look down here at the bottom, or before I do that, of course we can still go by home and away. So maybe we only want his home games. So there's all the home games for Aaron Judge in this time frame. And if we take that away, we get everything. And also, don't be confused. So if you don't choose home or away, it's going to give you both. Or if you choose them both, it's going to give you both. So don't be confused about that. And then at the bottom here, we have the averages in whatever time frame that we're looking at. So this is April 8th to July 14th. Aaron Judge is averaging 12.3 DraftKings points. If we quickly switch to FanDuel, you'll see he's averaging 16.5 FanDuel points. And you'll notice up here all of his salaries changed. So we can go and look at, again, let's do the last 2 weeks. That's a pretty common one in baseball. And you can see all of these other metrics are going to update, and I'll update these labels for you to make it a little bit easier. But here's your average DraftKings points, or your average fantasy points, excuse me. Here's your average salary, at-bats, hits, RBIs, and runs in that time frame. So as we change the time frame, of course, that's going to change as well. And then finally, I have the tab is called League, which I'm just trying to give a better snapshot of what's going on around the league. And there's a couple of interesting things in here. So again, we can just do a smaller time frame. This is this top one here is fantasy points by hitters, but it excludes players who didn't start. So this would be really good for things like stacks, right? Just your starters. And of course, Houston head and shoulders above the rest of the league in this time frame. And I've also done the same thing for fantasy points by ballpark, which I think is interesting. So here's something that's really cool. Let's look at the last month, and we'll see that Globe Life Park, so that's the Rangers Park, is at 7.3 fantasy points per player in this time frame. That's pretty significant because if you go back to maybe the first month of the season, you'll see how far down Globe Life is, 5.7. So there are some stadiums that literally, as the weather heats up, so does the production in those ballparks. And you'd want to see some interesting things like this right here. So even in our recent time frame, Houston is averaging a ton of points. Their offense is red hot. So it's no surprise that Minute Maid Park is up here. But you'll notice that Oriole Park, so Camden Yards, is the third highest productive fantasy ballpark. But the Orioles have not been scoring that many points themselves. They're down here in the bottom third of the league. So that to me, as we would know, indicates that Camden Yards is a very hitter-friendly ballpark. So that's the distinguish. That's what we're able to distinguish there. Just kind of quickly browsing through this, and then the last two I have average points by opponent. So this is kind of just looking at really just pitching staffs. I mean, these are the pitching staffs that are getting crushed. No surprise that Baltimore is showing up here at the top of the list as well, after we saw that their ballpark is giving up so many, but their team is not scoring that many. And then down here is something I wanted to do, and it's every player in the league sorted by average fantasy points. So this is really still our month time frame here. And again, no surprise that you're seeing a lot of Astros at the top. And what I made sure to do was include how many games each player has played. So obviously we have a guy here who has scored 26 fantasy points, which you'd be like, whoa, that's twice as many as Jose Altuve, but he's only played in one game. So I give you that so that you can look at sample sizes. So Altuve and Springer with 20 and 22 games in this time frame, averaging the most in the league, is really impressive. You can see Freddie Freeman, 7 games in that span. So just a very helpful little tool to help you identify some of the hotter players in the league. So there you go. That is what I've got. That's version 1.0, and this will change very, very regularly. I'm going to continue to add more things, but I want you to give me your opinion on this. So please tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or email me through the website. There's a contact us page, or the email address is info@dfsondemand.com. I'm looking for your feedback here. I want to know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to make it happen. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.